Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We're broadcasting from the Thacker Jewelry Studios, and we want to get right to the phones. We've got Dr. Schovanec, the president of Texas Tech University, on the line. Dr. Schovanec, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, Matt. Good morning to you and Dave.
Good morning.
I hope you're dealing with all of this. Okay.
Well, we're doing the best we can. I guess the question is, how are you dealing with it? How is Texas Tech dealing with this weather?
Well, Dave, we're in the third day of having closed the campus. The online courses have proceeded. Some of the face-to-face have been converted to online. And in light of what we went through last spring, we were in a much better position to deal with this. It's just sort of incredulous that we have the shutdown because of the pandemic, and now we're this. Maybe we're just being tested.
Yeah. So is Texas Tech having rolling blackouts, or were y'all did y'all need to shut anything down? I know that y'all have a lot of the utilities there on the campus yourself.
Yeah, Matt, yes, we did have, I believe it was yesterday, as we had a brief period of rolling blackouts in some of the residence halls along 19th Street. We don't at this time. I received a report this morning that, the Southwood Power Pool is at level 2, and the outages won't occur until they shift to level 3. I had a visit with the mayor on Monday, and I would say the city and LPNL have been wonderful in working with us. They reached out and asked us for a priority order for our circuits that was provided to them, and so we provided preferences so as not to impact the residence halls. So we've been dealing with it, and we've suffered no more than anybody else in this community.
Yeah. So I know one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I know this is kind of shifting gears a little bit, but y'all, the basketball team is doing an amazing job this year, even with all of the COVID-19 issues that the state as well as the team has had. And I guess they're playing TCU or have played TCU, and they're getting ready to play them again twice in a row. What are your thoughts on how they're doing, and do you see any problems moving forward as far as with the weather and the COVID-19?
So, Matt, we actually had to cancel the game with TCU that was scheduled for Tuesday. That was a change in the schedule where they were going to come here, and I think tentatively we are still scheduled to play them. Then we have Kansas and Oklahoma State on the road. Because of the postponements, our schedule hasn't gotten easier. We're going to have 3 road games, and we don't know exactly if we'll make up the other TCU game, Iowa State here, and then Baylor. So Texas Tech's Coach Beard and his staff have done a wonderful job. We've had no cancellations because of COVID within our program. It's been at other locations that haven't been so fortunate. I had a call last week with the commissioner, and there's still some doubt as to exactly what will be rescheduled. There was a free week before the Big 12 tournament that we'll try to utilize. But I wouldn't be surprised if we don't make up all of those games. And you wonder how that's going to impact our seeding in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you do have the Big 12 tournament beforehand. Has there any, at this time, have there been any talks about any delays or anything with the Big 12 tournament?
Not with the tournament. The procedures that have been outlined are extremely, they're very demanding. And even more so for the NCAA tournament. There'll be a very limited traveling party. And I think it's going to be tough on these student athletes to really adhere to the very strict isolation that will be imposed upon them. And we'll see if it doesn't change. But Kirby shared that with me, and we both share some concern just about what's being asked of these student athletes. But it's so important for the NCAA to get that tournament in. The financial impact last year was very significant. 2 years in a row, it'd be almost catastrophic.
Yeah.
So they're going to make every effort to get that tournament in, and we need to.
So how is the baseball team coming along? It's almost baseball season.
Well, I was planning to fly to DFW tomorrow, with and be there with other tech supporters for that 3-day event in the new stadium. That's been delayed, pushed back to Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and I still intend to go on Saturday and Sunday. It's just one more disruption, but as of right now, that's still scheduled to proceed, though delayed.
Wow. And one of the things I'm interested in, Dr. Schovanec, and I don't know whether you keep the statistics or not, but what we're seeing is a steady decrease, day-to-day decrease, starting around the first of the year in COVID cases.
Yeah,
and I'm wondering if you are tracking that at Tech and if you're seeing the same thing.
So, Dave, we have a dashboard. You can just Google TTU COVID dashboard. I look at it every day, and I have since August. And so yesterday we had no new active cases among students or employees. Right now we have 18 students who are active, 5 employees, 23. Last week, and we keep a weekly total, last week we only had 10 students the entire week. If you go back to this time, a comparable time in the fall, I remember early first week after class we had 400, then 300. We have done so well, and other schools who've opened this spring have had challenges, but we are very fortunate to be where we are right now, and this is very encouraging for next fall. We released a video, I think about a week ago, encouraging students, if they could, to please get the vaccinations. We have a committee that meets regularly that's planning how we'll start to provide vaccinations once we get the doses. We're already looking at our fall schedule. I've asked that 80% of the courses have some degree of face-to-face, and the majority of that be purely online. And Dave and Matt, about 2 weeks ago, the Chronicle of Higher Ed released a report of all the institutions and how they provided their instruction in the fall. And Texas Tech was in a group of 16% of all universities, in which the majority of classes were face-to-face. And it wasn't, we're talking 40%, with 30% being hybrid. But I believe that was an important part of important factor in our enrollment growth, and it's continued into the spring. And we want to make sure we keep doing that and get back to normal as quickly and as safely and as soon as possible.
Well, and if you compare COVID cases, the way that y'all have opened has been very good compared to even other universities who haven't been having as many face-to-face classes. Y'all's COVID numbers are pretty low.
I agree with that, Matt, and I do recall there was, we had that reporter that came from the LA Times for one of our games, and they did kind of a hatchet job on us. They didn't have our best interests at heart, and
California.
and I made a comment that we were trying to balance what parents and students wanted in terms of the collegiate experience, and they got some guy from Yale that said the president, hope he doesn't injure his arm, patting himself on the back. But people had very different views on how to handle it, but I think we took a balanced and safe approach, and I think that's been a benefit to us. As we go into this session, and I'll be testifying next Wednesday for the Senate Finance Committee, of course, we're dealing with the sustained 5% cut in formula funding, but we can still deal with this. We need to share in terms of the issues that the state is facing, but our enrollment growth has really helped us deal with the financial impacts of the cuts and of the impact of COVID-19.
So, President Schovanec, I do want to tell you that they have not very much to talk about there in California, because they've been as closed as any other state in the United States and still have crazy amounts of COVID-19. So I don't think they can say too much.
Yeah, I don't want to make tacky comments because I have some relatives, my sister and nephews and nieces live out there, and so I don't want to offend them.
You want to be nice. All right. Well, we Dr. Schovanec, I'm going to take a quick break. We're talking with Dr. Schovanec, the president of Texas Tech University. We'll be right back on Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. Welcome back to Mornings with Dave King and Matt Martin. We're speaking with Dr. Schovanec, the president of Texas Tech University. And Dr. Schovanec, I know that during the spring semester that normally, probably starting about this time, maybe March, y'all usually do like a recruiting tour. Has that been canceled for the year due to COVID-19?
Hey, Matt, I will answer that question, but I need to correct some misinformation.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
As I was sitting here, Kirby just texted me to let me know that later this morning, the Big 12 will officially announce the postponement of tomorrow's game at TCU. And I had said that maybe that was still going to go on. It's not.
Okay.
There's another game. Yeah. As for the recruiting, what we did last spring and the summer, it was all virtual. And that's the way it's going to continue, at least through this spring. Typically, I would go out and visit a number of local high schools. We weren't able to do that last year. We won't do it this year again. But what's still encouraging is our registrations for Red Raider orientation. Those are people who have confirmed that they're coming for the orientation next fall, is up about 15%. And so our enrollment continues to be very strong in spite of the fact that we're having to reach parents and students through other means. But we do want to get back to being out there face-to-face. In fact, we just had a meeting yesterday on what we're going to try to do a better job of seeing that we graduate our Pell students and our first-gen students at a higher rate. And part of that discussion dealt with how you have to begin to communicate with those students and those families during the recruitment process, starting with Red Raider roadshows and things of that sort. They need that personal advice and attention. But we've been very fortunate that our enrollment hasn't been affected by COVID. Nationwide, enrollment was down over 4%. We were up over 4%, and that's helped us a lot.
Yeah. Dr. Schovanec, I'd like to. I can't imagine exactly what your job is like right now, considering COVID and now this blackout and all. And it makes me wonder how difficult this is for you to plan for Texas Tech's future. What can you give us some insight on what you see, what you envision in the future?
It's the future is good, and I was walking down the street one day, and a gentleman said to me, I didn't know who he was. He passed me and said, "You must have one of the toughest jobs in the city." And I said, "No, I just make it look that way." And it's not. There are so many people that have been part of our response, and it's going to be interesting to see how universities change as a result of the experience. For instance, what we're dealing with right now has been affected by our response to COVID and how we respond to this weather disruption.
Yeah.
I think we have learned that there will be a place for virtual learning and online, but we've also learned that nothing will replace personal interactions. Many people have said that. We've seen it. We've seen the impact of isolation on students.
Yes.
The Student Government Association has been very active in bringing out issues related to wellness and mental health concerns. And that's part of the tech culture, and that's something we're going to continue to always emphasize.
Yeah. So let me ask you one other thing. Considering how our wind turbines have failed so miserably, I know Texas Tech has one of the very best engineering schools in the nation. I wonder if you might call some of these manufacturers and offer them to loan them some of your engineering professors that might know that, hey, these things freeze up even in Texas.
Yeah, that's been a topic of discussion, that the turbines here maybe were not designed to deal with this kind of cold weather. And just recently, we received a large grant, about $2.5 million, through the National Wind Institute. And so I need to talk to those people and see what they think and what they could do. And there might be a need for research that relates to the issues that have impacted us. And that's typically, that's the wonderful thing about research at a university. The vaccine represented an effort that really had been going on for many years. A lot of times people don't see the benefit of basic research, but it's there in the background, and this is an opportunity for us to contribute. And when we go down to Austin to make our case for our budget, those are some of the things we try to highlight. We only get 5 minutes, and you can't say a whole lot in 5 minutes. But, our message is basically we're here to serve Texas. We're one of 16 Carnegie Tier 1 schools. It's also a standing serving institution.
All right. Dr. Schovanec, we're running out of time. We got about 10 seconds.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Schovanec. We will talk to you again here in about a month.
Okay, you guys take care. I look forward to seeing you. When I show up, I'll bring some breakfast burritos.
All right.